Hello to everybody that gets to join me on these videos every single day. Thank you so much for joining us yet again. It's yet another video, this one about the man that is Conor Gallagher. He's the man on the lips of many a Chelsea fan, especially those that disrespected him at the start. I am glad, and I am one of those, and I think there are quite a number of them, so I'm not so special, that are feeling vindicated with what we've managed to do. Actually, no, we have nothing to do with that. All that we've been lucky to have is Pochettino has played the man as much as he has done, and that Conor Gallagher has simply done his job. So yes, for those that are still being stubborn, it's the time that you change your stance and actually join the bandwagon, if at all that's what you prefer to call it, that is appreciating the hidden gem, at least to many of you, that has been behind Conor Gallagher. And for me, in this video, we're also going to talk about just about what that means, his revival means for the rest of the project at Chelsea Football Club. My name is Desire Derek Mugumisa, and thank you so much for tuning in to this particular video. I am urging you to subscribe to this channel because that is how we build the numbers and keep it going. And yes, please follow me on social media as well at D Mugumisa on X, at D Mugumisa on Instagram, at Double D Mugumisa on TikTok. Those are the places where these conversations can keep going, and I hope that we can keep them just doing that. Now, let's talk about the man that is Conor Gallagher. He was one of the least favorites when the breakthrough of the academy products getting to play for Chelsea came through. I think our favorite players were Reece James and Mason Mount. Then there was Fikayo Tomori in there, also one of those that was not one that we loved so much until, we got used to him. Trevor Chalobah has also gotten his opportunity in there and all of that. But for some reason, Conor Gallagher just did not get to be the easily liked player for Chelsea FC. I think the most we loved him was when he went on loan at Crystal Palace, spent the season there, scoring the goals, making the assists and all of that. And many of us wanted him to come back and do that for Chelsea. A couple of our midfielders were not hitting it off as we had hoped they would, yet that stayed at the club, and we were seeing everything he was doing under Patrick Vieira. He made his England debut while on loan at Crystal Palace. Then he returns, and then there was that horrible Panenka miss against Charlotte FC in pre-season, and it just never really picked up for him. Even when in that season he came on and scored a goal here, I think one was a goal of the month or something like that. He put in quite some shifts in there, and you could see what he was all about. But for some reason, Chelsea fans just didn't exactly like the man, and I think that has been his story until just about now. After that performance, the huge performance against Manchester City, I think is the first time I saw people come out to state that, what, I'm sorry I disrespected you before. And I've got to admit that even at the start of this season, when Pochettino kept putting him in there, I was sure that as a person who was a fan of Conor Gallagher, I had seen better times where we'd seen, Conor Gallagher perform even when the fans were not exactly fans of him. And that was, before he started games, and then he started becoming very, very popular, and a couple, not popular, but prominent as far as the squads were concerned. Still, the fans were not exactly sold. Then there was a game or two where they thought, oh, that was a good shift coming in from Conor Gallagher, and all of that. And now we are looking at the stats where he's being compared to the likes of Declan Rice, and he's bossing him in midfield. And Declan Rice is 100 million plus 5 or something like that in there. And this is a guy who, by the way, is on the academy books. He's one of the guys we considered selling to balance the books. And he's in the club. He's captaining Chelsea. He's putting in shifts. And I don't think it has been so different from what he put in at the beginning of the season to what he's putting in now. We just are thinking, you know what? This guy is now in the squad. He's never going away. Maybe it's about time we get to accept him. Now, it's not exactly uncommon for young players like Conor Gallagher and many others that we have in the squad to go through ups and downs. They are young players, they are learning, there are things that you get to do on a football pitch and even in our workplaces and our relations with the people that we relate with, whereby you're just trying to learn them and you realize, okay, when I did this, that happened, when I did this, this happened. Oh, this was the idea I had, but it doesn't exactly work like that. But if I can adjust it this way, maybe it gets better. So it's not totally uncommon. And I think we are seeing a lot of that with so many players, including another one that I want to hint start a little bit later, then we just keep getting so harsh on right there. But that's really what it is. It is part of the process. It is part of the project. And we've got to be able to appreciate that, to be able to see more of this. Now, when we look at Conor Gallagher, from the start, he always gave us this one thing: the primary presser. I don't think we have any player in that squad that presses as well as Conor Gallagher does. Whether he's come on as a sub or whatever, there were times he walked onto the pitch as a sub and Chelsea fans were up in arms. And I was thinking, guys, everything has been done by Caicedo, by even Enzo when they've been on, or whichever other midfielder. Give the guy a chance, he brings something totally different. And sometimes it was shown in those particular games. And I think it has been able to disrupt so many teams. There were a couple of teams that played us off the park last season. Two of those off the top of my mind are Brighton and Manchester City. Brighton embarrassed us under Potter, under Lampard and all of that. But those two teams that were passing across us and all of that, we've beaten Brighton twice, once in pre-season, once in the league. I think that was the League Cup or something like that. We've played against Manchester City. Now we've seen what we can do against them, and we know what City did against clubs almost our level elsewhere. And Conor Gallagher has been key to that. He was deployed in the number 10 position against Manchester City. He didn't have to drop deep so much and all of that, and just simply was winning us possession up in there, was making Rodri really uncomfortable on the ball. In that game also played different positions. At some point as a number 8, he started out as a number 10, as a number 8. At some point when I think Gusto was suffering with a bit of an injury and was being treated, he was at number 2 as well. So quite the player that you've got to see in there, and he's just special. He is all heart, he's all drive. It was off his shoulder that we got that Nicholas Jackson goal as well in there. He is also a guy that has allowed Pochettino to just be as flexible as possible. I want you to be up top. There are moments in the game where he's been the most forward player for us. There have also been moments in the game where you see him as the player looking to pick the ball from as deep as possible. So that fluidity and adaptability that he carries, the fluidity that he brings to the team and the adaptability that he has as Conor Gallagher is something that of course has happened, that has continued to improve his contributions to the team in there, and of course giving him great comparisons with some of the players that are playing in his position. At some point Manchester United fans were trolling Declan Rice as an overrated or an overtaxed or an overhyped McTominay. I'm seeing that in the statistics. Declan Rice, Conor Gallagher, very comparable. And for me, that is something so beautiful. So yeah, at the end of the day, we can talk about everything. What he does off the ball, what he does on the ball, the guy with the most recoveries, up the pitch, not just in Chelsea, not just in the Premier League, not just in the top 3, 4, 5 leagues, but in the top 7 leagues in Europe. That is the kind of person we have. And we've seen players like these being charged or we are being told about 120 million, 100 million plus to sign them if they are elsewhere. If Conor Gallagher was not at Chelsea, if he was at Crystal Palace and we had swallowed the tricky pill to actually sell him to Crystal Palace, we would be buying him back for about 120 million. Remember the battle we had trying to bring in Caicedo? I feel that Conor Gallagher would be a worse battle for Chelsea to try and bring him back to the club if we had sold him. And I really hope that we get to have that contract signed. We're coming to the end of this video, so I would want for us to reflect with patience on how it has served us in the past. I'm going to bring out 2 of the club legends. Both of them came to Chelsea and started too slow. I know we're talking about Conor Gallagher, but this first example that I'm going to give you is an example that also brings in Nico Jackson. This guy wore the shirt number that Nico Jackson is currently wearing, Didier Drogba. When he first came in from Marseille, hardly anyone knew him. Nico Jackson, hardly anyone knew him in the Premier League. Matter of fact, if you looked at the strikers that Chelsea fans wanted Chelsea to sign, you needed to go out and watch the highlights of Nico Jackson. And it turned out, Nico Jackson is who Chelsea could be bringing in when Fabrizio started reporting on that. Many of us were focused on all these other people, including Vlahovic and all of that. Didier Drogba came in the same frame or similar frame as Nico Jackson. I'm not saying Nico Jackson is going to be as great as Didier Drogba. What I'm talking about is us being patient Chelsea fans. He had a very slow start for Chelsea in his first season before he turned out to be the legend that he is today. The Obi-Wan podcast cannot stop mentioning Didier Drogba and what he brought to the pitch. Pundits all across Africa tell you about Didier Drogba and stopping the war so people could watch Ivory Coast play. Chelsea fans will always tell you about Didier Drogba even long before he scores the penalty that wins us our first Champions League. Yes, Arsenal fans, you heard that right. Our first Champions League. We have more than one. I hope it registers. Speaking of patience, guys, Frank Lampard, when he came in from West Ham, of course, we had his uncle telling us about how when he was making his debut at West Ham, Harry Redknapp coming out and said this guy is going to go on to be one of the biggest players in Europe and all of that right there. And many didn't believe him. He came to Chelsea. He struggled as he started out. Frank Lampard, he went on to be a club legend. Now he's also been a manager of the club. So yes, I have to state that we've got to be very patient to allow players time to develop. You know, we're not bringing in stars from across Europe who need to just adapt. We are bringing in young players from across Europe who need to adapt and also develop because they are coming as young players with potential. So we also need to allow them to develop, and that is something that we need to study. And that is across the whole team. That's across the whole of Chelsea right now with everything that we've shopped and probably what we'll be shopping more of right there. So yeah, about time we gave the man this time to shine. I think we are far from the best from Conor Gallagher. It gets better from here. And yes, with everything that is going on, I wouldn't be so shocked if he's a captain of Chelsea, not just a stand-in. At some point in this career of his, he's shown that he's willing to fight, and I think that's a very good quality. He's kept his word and kept fighting with Chelsea Football Club, and I hope that all will be well with that particular one. I have to credit Chelsea Football Club as well. This commitment to youth, especially having been known as a club that never gives youth an opportunity, whether as both players or as players being promoted through the youth system. Great credit, Chelsea. I think this is my club. I recognize it right there. Where Mason Mount came up from, I know we don't like that name so much around the Chelsea circles anymore, but where Rhys James came from as well, where Conor Gallagher has come from, there's still more gems to come through that. There are all these beautiful kids that we have sent across Europe. Angelo comes on top of mind as well in there. Even when those, we are praising them because they're doing all these things, say at Strasbourg and wherever it is they're doing them, they're going to come into Chelsea Football Club. They're going to struggle to start and all of that. It's going to be part of our DNA. We need to get used to it as Chelsea fans. Give these people an opportunity to develop, an opportunity to adapt, an opportunity to get used to the team and perform. I think Ugochukwu is also starting to come through with some good performances right there. So yeah, guys, that's really just what I had to say about Conor Gallagher and all of that. The patience has paid off. The man stayed at the club. He kept his head up. He has performed and he's starting to earn the respect of many Chelsea fans. I would love to hear from you. Is there any other gem within the Chelsea hierarchy, within the Chelsea team that excites you, that you want us to be patient with, and maybe one day we'll get to watch and appreciate more? Mine is Conor Gallagher today. Who is yours? This comment section below is where I would love for you to get engaging as far as the conversation is concerned. Who is that one player? Or even if it is Conor Gallagher, tell me, and share your thoughts with me on some of those players and everything that they're getting to do for us right there. So yeah, on this particular note, I just want to thank you for joining me on this particular video as we broke down Conor Gallagher's potential. The interesting thing is that we're still talking about his potential even with how well he's performing right now. Patience is a virtue, I have to remind you. It's exactly what is keeping me going with the video. I'd hope for much more success than we are registering, but hopefully we keep growing and all of that. So yes, patience is a virtue, and I do hope that you also register that, especially even in games. Man, you guys, by the 10th minute, you are abusing Pochettino for exactly the things that turn out to work in the 40th, 30th, or even 70th minute right there. Patience is a virtue everywhere, especially through this project that Chelsea are running. So until the next video, people, Let's keep that blue flag flying high and stay connected and engaged with this channel, because a whole lot more exclusive Chelsea content is gonna be coming right here. Thank you so much. Until the next video, goodbye.